Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray, and you're watching Mixtress Video. So I'm doing a true unfair comparison today between Hush Tarot and Raven's Prophecy. These are both mass market, readily available decks. This one I got both of them for my birthday. Basically, I'm comparing them against each other because they're my two most recent decks. I just got them in the last week, both of them. So basically that's the only reason why I'm comparing them, just because I want to show off my two newest decks, and also because this deck has a lot of birds in it, and this deck has a lot of ravens for Raven's Prophecy. I am probably going to refer to them as crows, just because I don't actually know the difference between ravens and crows. I've looked it up before, and I just could not retain the information. To me, I know people named Raven, so I'm going to call the animals crows. So because they both sort of have a bird energy to them, I thought that was a good point of comparison between the two, but they could not be more dissimilar in the art style. Like this, as you'll see, Raven's Prophecy is a very simple deck, and Hush Tarot is, the artwork style is much more complex. That's what I mean by simple and complex, as in the art style, not necessarily like, you know, the symbolism or anything being too simple. But anyway, I love them both for completely different reasons. They're both tarot decks that like I knew existed, but they weren't really on my wish list. But they were both just sort of, I was at a witchy shop on my birthday and I saw it and I was like, you know what? Let's give it a try. I knew that the Fool is a ferret in this deck, and I am all about that because ferrets are very important to me, and I totally love animal decks in general. And this deck is really about animal spirit energy. But anyway, you can get both of these decks for like, 20, 25 bucks very easily. Let's get into it. Also, I wanted to say both of these kind of, in my mind, have a natural pairing with an oracle deck. Hush Tarot works really well with Vintage Wisdom Oracle, and Raven's Prophecy works really well with Halloween Oracle. So I just want to point that out because I don't normally make those types of associations necessarily, but it made sense to me. Okay, so as you're going to see, the art style's very, very different with these two decks. But I still want to compare them just so I can show off for you guys my two newest decks, like I said, and that way, if you want to get a reading from me, these are two decks that are on offer if you would like to request them. I am really loving, especially using Raven's Prophecy in spreads, because you get, with simpler decks, to me, simpler decks really lend themselves well to spreads because you can draw out the symbolism. This deck is just so effortless to me to read with. Raven's Prophecy, it's just so simple. You have the magician's hand, you have all the symbols, the limniscate, and then all the four elements, and his hand, his or her hand, is what is used for all of his or her or their magic work. This one's really interesting too because it's like, this is a very grim deck. There's a lot of life and death depicted in this deck. And this particular moment here, and this magician, like, to me, it looks like she's like summoning Osiris to try to put her animal companion back together again. And this reminds me of the moment in Buffy when, spoiler alert, I guess, in season 6, when Tara was just killed and Willow is trying to summon Osiris to bring her back from the dead. This is what this moment reminds me of that. And yeah, I like it. I mean, it's so weird to compare these two, but again, with the simplicity of Raven's Prophecy, I really, really like that, like, you just have to look in the mirror. You just have to look within yourself. You have all of your answers within. And I know that this deck, Raven's Prophecy, it's by Maggie Stiefvater. I might be saying her name wrong. And she is a young adult author. So I knew that already. And this deck goes in conjunction with a series of books that she has. I think the first book is called Raven Boys. So I'd like to read that. Oh, full disclosure, there are 3 cards in Hush Tarot that depict women with um, without any hair on their crotches. So the hair that you see, I drew on, and it's just a personal thing for me. It's very triggering for me to see like prepubescent crotch on an adult woman. It really disturbs me personally, so I added the pubic hair that you see. I'm sure you can tell that it was not originally there. I'm not, the best at that, but I did try because it would have been a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't have been able to keep this deck if I hadn't done it. So, just so you know, I am super into the whole. There's a lot of cards in this deck where it's like a woman wearing a bird's head as a mask or as a headdress, or a woman that is half bird, half girl. I kind of call myself the bird mad girl, and it's mostly because of I without realizing it, like a good half of my tattoos are birds and or winged creatures of some kind. Like I'm getting bat wings tattooed on my back in a few weeks. Like the sort of nickname for my tattoo theme on my body is Bird Mad Girl, because I'm just very drawn to, like, my spirit animal is a crow. Like if I had to pick one, that is who it is. So both of these decks have a lot of crow spirit energy to me. So anytime I see like a melding of a woman with a crow, I feel very sort of, this might be the wrong word for a white girl like me to use, but I know you'll know what I mean at least. I feel very shamanically linked to the crow. So this deck is kind of speaks to my soul, and this one does too in a weird way. Both decks that I like knew existed, and I wasn't really drawn to them until I saw them in a physical store and bought them, which I hardly ever do. I usually order my decks online. And there's a lot of detail in this Hush Tarot, like that you probably can't see all of on this video. And I haven't quite worked out like what this really means, because you've got like this couple with like animal faces. You've got a mouse. You've got another couple over here with animal faces. And you've got the hands, and it's, yeah, very interesting. This one kind of bugged me at first, this Hierophant card with the lantern, because the lantern reminds me of Hermit. But I'm going to skip ahead really quick because it completely made sense to me when you see that the Hermit is the same lantern inside a hollowed out tree. This is when you're gathering the knowledge and your belief structures in the world, and you're getting that teaching from someone else. And by the time you've progressed to the point in your life when you are the Hermit, you take that within and you integrate it. So it totally made sense to me. Like what I love about why I'm turning into like a tarot deck collector, is because every time I get a new deck, the symbolism on that deck helps expand my knowledge of that card, if that makes sense. I think this is Shiva and Parvati. I could be wrong. I get like the couplings mixed up. Because I think Shiva is kind of like Zeus in Greek mythology, where he's like attached to a lot of different women in Hindu mythology. This Lovers is just so simple, so beautiful. And the fact that they're like opposites, that they can come together. It's a very yin and yang situation. I love both those Lovers cards. This is interesting to me because you have the head of a black horse and then the body of a white horse, and varying levels of decay. And of course it's also a carousel horse. It's very, there's a lot to psychologically work through with Hush Tarot. I think I'm going to have some really powerful readings with this deck. There's my next card that I have added pubic hair. Ah, I love it though. I love the bats and all these little, I think they're like white moths. I wish the guidebook goes into some of the symbolism here, but not enough. Not as much as I would like. You know, I'd like to see, like, why did you choose this moth? Why did you choose bats? Why did you choose for her to, like, you know, be bisected in the middle? You know? I mean, of course, all of that stuff is stuff that the artist doesn't have to tell you what everything means. You can work that out for yourself, and your meanings of it mean just as much as anyone else's. Look at that cute little, it's like a barn owl, I think. I might be wrong. And then there's gears within. It's weird because I had watched several like flip throughs of this deck and decided that it wasn't for me. But then I bought it basically because I was like, it's my birthday, I'm at a witchy shop, I want to get a deck. My Michael was footing the bill too. He was like going to buy everything that I wanted at that witchy shop, which was super fun. It was the first time I'd been able to go. It's this particular place that's like an hour away from my house, and it was the first time I'd been able to go since January, and I just wanted a deck, and there wasn't anything else that I wanted. And so this one just kind of called to me, and I was like, you know what? Let's give it a try. It's only like $22. If it doesn't work for me, I can pass it on. And it really has been working for me. It's so weird when that happens, because most of the time with decks, I love how simple this is, by the way. The fact that it's just like the 4 seasons. So you've got, I would assume the morning glories are spring, and then you've got summer, fall, and winter. Oh, I just love that so much. Like, that's all I really need on a Wheel of Fortune card. I need to see some sort of passage of time. The one critique that I would have with Hush Tarot is that sometimes I don't necessarily immediately get the symbolism. Like, why is this Wheel of Fortune? I don't know. Maybe it says in the guidebook. I did go through the guidebook and read the whole thing with Hush Tarot, but I'm not remembering. But it's so weird, like most of the time when I acquire decks, it's because I've watched a million flip throughs and I know I'm gonna like it, and I've thought about it a long time, and then I order it and then I have to wait for it to get to me. But it's so weird when it's like you just stumble into a store, decide to buy a deck on a whim, and then it actually works for you. It's almost more special when that happens. If that might sound stupid, but like, because I didn't build neither of these decks, because they were both just sort of bought in person on a whim kind of situations, I did not spend a lot of time building them up in my mind or anticipating them. This one's creepy to me. Oh my god. I haven't quite worked out like how this is Hanged Man. Like she's caught in a trap or something, and she seems to have a mask over her face. Yeah, I don't really know. It just kind of creeps me out. This is beautiful to me. It's like, I don't know if this is like a vulture or a buzzard or something like that, but to me it looks like a scavenging bird. So you have a scavenging bird which already sustains itself from the death of others. But it's also, it's now a mother. So, and it's decorated its nest with some of the things that it has scavenged. And it's a beautiful depiction of a death card to me. This figure shows up a couple of different times in the deck, and it looks like the same person. So I'm assuming that this is a depiction of somebody that's important to Jeremy Hush. I really like this Temperance card. This reminds me of my mom because she used to have a poster of like a picture of a drip that looks just like this, a drip in the water, and it said like believe on it or something, and it had like some motivational quote on the poster or whatever. But this reminds me of her, and Temperance is a mothering card to me anyway, so this just works for me. Like, Such a simple image, but so beautiful. And again, you have the like crow head as the mask. This particular art style in Hush Tarot too just reminds me so much of like storybooks that I grew up with, you know? I think these are like poppy flowers. So that makes sense to me as a double card. The cats wearing masks is a theme in this deck. There's a few different cards where there is a cat wearing a mask, and haven't quite worked out how I feel about that and what that means. Like, does that mean that cats have two faces? What is that? I don't know. Love this. Love both of these as tower cards. This one to me looks like a bonfire, and it makes it more intentional. Like, you're burning it all down. You're doing it because you're done. Like, it almost looks like Burning Man. And this is beautiful to me too, because like the destruction that happened with this tower happened, to me it looks like it happened a long time ago. And these birds have made this place their home long after whoever lived there, whatever humans live there, have moved on. So I like that. Both of these are tower cards that if I got them, they wouldn't give me that same feeling that tower cards do. That makes sense? They're unique. Not particularly into either of these star cards. I mean, this one's gorgeous. It's just too abstract for me. And this one, I don't know what, a hunting we will go. What is that? How does that have anything to do with the star? I don't know. I'm totally fine with like a sparrow carrying a ribbon that says something on it, but I don't personally see the connection to the star card in that symbolism. These are actually okay, and now I'm thinking, okay, maybe this isn't such an unfair comparison. These two cards belong to the same family of symbolism, at least, even though the art styles are so different. Love it so much. And then just, I want to give a little moment too, because these two cards go kind of hand in hand. And I like when decks do that, when like the sun and moon cards go together. It's not like something that I feel like every deck needs to have, but I like it when it happens. The only problem with this sun card though is that this crow to me looks so uncomfortable. You know, like you shouldn't look uncomfortable in a sun card. Like this crow looks much more comfortable to me. But again, I tend to focus on little details. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like little things will bug me. I'm sure the crowns have like a symbolism that matches the story, and I don't know that because I haven't read the book. I have it on hold at my library because I would like to read it, and because now that I know that it's referencing a book, I knew it was referencing a book from the beginning, but now that I know that it's like referencing a book with like people that use tarot, like Maggie Stiefvater, she made this tarot deck because she wanted to have a tarot deck that was the deck that the characters used in her book. I love this as a world card, sort of like the beginning of a new journey, setting out on the road, or this is the end of a journey, like you're coming home from a long road trip. Either way, I just think that's beautiful. I love this as an Ace of Wands too. That's just like the very beginnings of like a campfire. You know, you're just burning the brush to get it started. I love that. And this, gorgeous. See, that's similar too. You've got birds and direction. This one's a little bit less about like direction, although it looks like this bird might have to make the choice of which one of these little branches does she want to save. In the artist bio for Jeremy Hush's tarot, it said something about he uses found materials for pigments, and I think that's something that like you really get a sense of that with this deck. Like, I don't know if he exclusively uses like natural materials for the pigments. If so, like, it very much looks like, it just looks so organic and old and aged, and it looks like this is a deck that was made from death, you know? It's just a very dark deck to me, in a good way. Okay, I just want to take a second with this, with Raven Prophecy 4 and 5 of Wands, because I really, really love this, and I think I will never forget this. Like, I think this will be in my mind every time I see a 4 and a 5 of Wands. The sort of like celebratory feeling of having these 4 candles lit and peaceful and stable, and then they get knocked over in the 5 of Wands. You know, something so innocuous, so beautiful, so wonderful. Like, this could be like 4 candles used in a spell or something, and you're just meditating while looking at them, and then they get knocked over and it becomes the 5 of Wands. I just, oh, I love that. It's not a lot of these like sort of more pippish cards in Hush Tarot. I'm totally fine with that kind of, those kind of cards, but it's not super consistent throughout the deck. As far as internal consistency, I feel like Raven's Prophecy is more internally consistent than Hush Tarot. Not that that necessarily matters, because they're both really great decks. I love this 6 of Wands. It says, it's French. It's Je ne passe pierre. Definitely not saying that right, but I think it means like fearlessness. It's a great 6 of Wands, honestly. And I like this sort of like protecting your flames from water. I get that protection seems like a big aspect of the 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands that sometimes you don't necessarily get. Like, sometimes you just think, oh, you're defending yourself, but you're not only protecting yourself, you're protecting others that come after you. You know, I think of the 7 of Wands as a very protective card, and both of these give me that feeling. Gorgeous card. Not sure how it's 8 of Wands, but gorgeous. I love it. There's a lot of cardinals in this deck. These both work for me as 9 of Wands too. I'm just getting the feeling that the way the scenarios that cats are shown in Hush Tarot makes me think that Jeremy Hush does not like cats or does not trust cats. Like, this person looks like she's sort of hiding under the cat, but it's a card of being overburdened too. I don't know. I love this Page of Wands. Just the simplicity of a match that you have just lit being the Page of Wands. So perfect to me. I'm getting a little bit just sort of like the psychological issues that come up for me when I'm flipping through or when I'm using Hush Tarot reminds me of Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot a little bit, but it's in an art style that I can handle better, because I did pass on my Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot quite a while ago, so I don't have it anymore. But if I still had it, I would probably want to flip these 2 decks together. And it wasn't even like Nicoletta Ciccoli's art itself was not a good vehicle for me for a tarot deck. It was just, it looked like somebody applied the tarot meanings to her art after the fact, so it didn't always match. So that's what ultimately I just couldn't work with that deck, because it just didn't feel like a tarot deck to me. It felt more like a deck of art cards, which is fine, but it just didn't work for me personally. There's that figure again that was in the Temperance card. It looks like the same woman, doesn't it? I'm a little confused as to how this is Queen of Wands, but I'll get there. These are still very new decks to me. I've had this deck like 2 days, and I've had this one like a week and a day. Love this like little baby crow as the Ace of Cups. Looks like it's standing in the same water as the Temperance card, you know? I guess it's called a harpy, which I had heard that word before, but I guess I just didn't know what it was. But this sort of like half woman, half bird situation, which I'm into. This one doesn't really work for me as a Three of Cups. Like I can see, okay, like her 3 are her and her 2 animal companions, so I can get it from that, but oh, and I wasn't mentioning before, but in this deck, the symbolism is pretty consistent within the suits. Like the wands were all just fire, very simply. The cups are ravens. And I really like this 4 of Cups, this sort of like reflection situation. Like in the reflection, you can definitely, like it's watered down emotions. So that makes sense to me as a 4 of Cups. These are similar too, aren't they? You get a very similar feeling from, I mean, you almost always get a similar feeling with 5 of Cups, but you know, I like both of these. Sort of this really speaks to like grief and loved ones passed on, because you know you've got the sort of like more faded life here. So this is like maybe a crow that's not yet gone, and then you've got these back here, these feathers that like are getting less defined as they go further back. That's totally, that's just gives me goosebumps. This deck, Raven's Prophecy, I feel like it was like I knew it immediately, like we were old friends. Like I don't feel like there's a lot that I need to do to get to know Raven's Prophecy. I feel like I know it very well already. It's super easy to read with. I was like doing full readings for people. I did 3 readings with this deck last night for my mom and one of her friends and her son. I did 3 readings last night with this deck, and I've had this deck less than 48 hours at this point, and it was just easy. Whereas this deck, I would definitely do a reading with this deck, and it wouldn't for clients, but it wouldn't be as easily accessible to me. This deck I know I'm going to have to take more time with, even though I've already had this deck like a week longer than this deck. Beautiful. This is really beautiful to me. And I'm not usually into like the like Victorian imagery that you kind of get with this Hush Tarot, but it's really working for me for some reason. Just like a little pet peeve, like I want to see when they are numbered minor arcana cards, I want to see the numbers represented in the figures. And this deck doesn't always do that. You know, like this being 9 of Cups, I think it conveys 9 of Cups, but I would have liked to have seen that there are other cups in the background maybe, or something. And this being 10 of Cups, only having 1 cup in it. It could even just have the cup and then 8 of these birds. I mean, it makes sense. This is a good 10 of Cups energy, but it's just a pet peeve of mine that I actually want to see. Like every time I see things like this, it's like I'm counting. Are there actually 10? Yes, there are. Okay, it's fine. It's good. Bluebird of Happiness. Love it. This is such a gorgeous Queen of Cups, isn't it? Because you know that the symbol in this particular deck for cups is ravens. So you get one feather and then the moon. It's like, yes. So Queen of Cups. So beautiful. This was in one of the readings that I did last night, and it was just, this card just kept drawing my eye, you know? And this makes sense to me too. Just King of Cups. It's just a cup with a raven feather in it. Yes, makes sense. This is like, I think this is the first male presenting figure that we've seen in Hush Tarot so far. There's only, I pulled aside to, I was just wondering about it. There are less than 5 cards in Hush Tarot that depict male presenting. Don't really love the aces in Hush Tarot. I like a little bit more simplicity in an ace card. I want to get that whole, like, the beginnings. I want to see the whole and the beginning in the same card, and there's just a little too much going on. This to me looks like a knight card, or sometimes I think it's the chariot. This just doesn't really work for me as an ace of swords, but again, I didn't create this deck. The swords are represented by hands in Raven's Prophecy. Again, just my own personal pet peeve. This is a 2 of swords, and there are 3 cats. Like, it just bugs me. And also, I have no idea how this is 2 of swords. Maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll have an awakening about this card at some point. Again, I feel like I definitely don't know this Hush Tarot yet. I'm intrigued by it, and it's bringing up interesting things for me, but I definitely don't know it yet. These are both, I love that, like, you don't normally get 3 of Swords cards that are something other than a heart with 3 swords. And every time there's something different from that, it's exciting to me. So I like that these both have, and I like this, because I see the 3 of Swords, like, if I'm thinking of it in terms of a breakup, which I don't always do with 3 of Swords, but if I am, it's usually before the breakup has happened. It's when the relationship is stagnant. It's, the feeling for me reminds me of the Cure song Apart, where it's talking about a relationship where the people have been ready to move on for so long and just staying because it's familiar. The 3 of Swords, if I'm thinking about it in terms of a relationship breaking up, it's before it has happened. And so this makes sense to me because they are bound together, and the only way they're going to be able to become their sovereign selves again is to separate from each other. The only way they're going to heal is to separate from each other. So this is really powerful to me. I think I'm really going to like working with Raven's Prophecy as like a client deck. Again, because it's so easy to get the symbolism. You know, this is somebody who's very relaxed and they've been through something. You know, this is the hand of a napping person, but it's the hand of a napping person that's been through some shit, you know? This looks like John Hodgman to me, which I'm fine with. I'm okay with that. It just makes me laugh. I can work with this. 6 of Swords is an important one to me, and I can work with this. This one's a little odd to me. Someone pointed out in a video, and I was like, yes! I don't remember who it was, but I've watched several like walkthroughs of this deck since I got it. Just wondering how other people are interpreting the symbolism. And I think it's interesting that this bird is carrying away keys. Like, I can work with that. But why does the bird look like it's perched on this thing that it's obviously suspending in the air? This bird doesn't look like it's moving. So maybe that's part of it, you know? The part of the symbolism. Like, this bird is not actually going anywhere. This bird is going to drop to the ground with those keys. I like this idea that like she looks so peaceful, but internally she feels trapped, even though she looks so beautiful and she's surrounded by flowers. And yeah, I haven't really read, just full disclosure, because I feel like I know this deck immediately. I am going to go through the guidebook for Raven's Prophecy because I know that she kind of goes through some of the symbolism. But I'm just kind of enjoying getting to know this deck without reading the guidebook yet, although I will. Likely I'll read it, especially when I start reading the book. These are both really good Nine of Swords, though. Sort of that confrontation between life and death. The reflection is dead, but you are not. Those anxieties are consuming you, but they're not necessarily representative of reality. Yeah. Gorgeous. I love both of these. This one is really powerful to me. For a second I was like, are her hair strands actually snakes? No, they're not. This is cool to me too because it's like a quill pen, and it's making the reflection of the sword symbol that's used throughout the deck. I like that I just thought about this, but this card to me looks kind of sketchy, like it's a little bit unfinished, and that I just connected that to the aspect of the page. Oh, it kind of looks unfinished because maybe it is, because it's the page. This isn't a finished drawing. This isn't a finished person. She doesn't know who she's going to become yet. She's just starting out. Ooh, I like that. This one is creepy to me, which I guess, you know, sometimes the Knight of Swords can be a little bit creepy. Oh, I love this so much. Women and birds. I don't know what it is. Women presenting people and birds. I like that the sword is sheathed. It's like he knows how to use it, but he doesn't need it right now. He's confident. And coins are represented by primarily roses in Raven's Prophecy. Oh, I love this. It's so cute. I'm just like so enchanted by birds. I don't know why. I just am. They're so cute to me. I like that you're seeing like orangish yellow roses, because most of the time when you see roses drawn, they are like typical colors like red or pink, or white, and very often you see those like sort of like like the yellow roses that have the, just like this, that have the sort of like corally orange edges. It's just so realistic. This one bugs me because it looks like a Three of Cups to me, you know? It just bugs me. Like, why do you have a cup here? Like, no, please, you're confusing me. Oh, love this. It's just so beautiful to me. These are both very effective. Five of Pentacles. This person just like looks shady, which, you know, you can, it's not my favorite meaning of Six of Pentacles to see like a shady person that's weighing out what they're giving to others, but I can work with that, I guess. Kind of looks like David Byrne a little bit. And I have good associations with him, so. Love this, though. This is gorgeous to me. These are both, like, when I was thinking about comparing these two decks, I thought about these two cards, and I was like, well, those two kind of make sense together. Because you've got the flowers kind of growing on the trellis, or the archway here. I don't really like either of these Eight of Pentacles. I mean, I don't dislike this one. It makes sense to me. It just feels like not as strong. Like, most of my reactions to the symbolism in this deck are very like, oh, yes, okay. But I don't get that with this one. It's just kind of like, okay, that's fine. And this one's just kind of, I don't know, it just looks muddy to me. There's not a refining quality to it that I'd like to see in an Eight of Pentacles. Look at all those colors. Gorge. Oops, what happened? This Page of Pentacles is everything. I'm not totally sure how she's a Page of Pentacles, except she does look very much like an earth creature, but she looks more like a queen. You know, she looks way more advanced than a page. And love, love, love the little goats. This night too. These both kind of go together. Like, she could be wearing this. She could be wearing this. The King's the only one that's like the traditional color of rose. And this, oh my god, this is very like the owl from Winnie the Pooh to me, which I'm totally fine. And this clock is so like old and dead and like rotting, and there's an actual skull in it, and it's just the various forms of like life, death, and decay that are shown in the Hush Tarot is just, it's something that very much intrigues me, and I think I'm going to, like I said, be getting to know this deck for a long time. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this unfair comparisons video with me. I didn't ask you guys this time what you wanted to see. I just wanted to show off two decks that I've gotten for my birthday. I'm a Libra, so I just had my birthday a week ago. Anyway, I hope that you guys are doing well, and I will see you in the next one.